Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, as you guys know, I've been a pretty big fan of FlightOne and tell everybody to use it and how great it is and all that stuff for a good while now. However, yesterday that changed. Yesterday I decided to put Falco X on my trusty FlightOne build that's on my remix frame. And that was the plan. That plan didn't turn out like I was expecting it to. See, I expected to flash it on there and use the configurator that they've got for the computer and configure it, you know. I'd kind of tested that before and everything seemed like it worked, but the test that I'd done was with a different kind of board and not my old Revolt board. So I pulled up my my configurator that I had for that. Not the new one, but the original one, because that's what you have to do. Use that one, flash the firmware to it, then you pull up the new configurator and go from there. So I did that, but pulled up the old configurator, saw my board just fine, flashed it, everything seemed to be fine. Went to pull up the new configurator and it's like no FC found. I'm like, huh, no FC found, that's interesting. And so I tried, you know, a few different things. I thought maybe, okay, it needs power from the battery or whatever, and so tried that, nothing. Tried like 3 different cables, nothing. And then I was like, well, I guess maybe I'm not going to do that. So no big deal, you know, I'll just flash it back and put everything just back like it was. So I pull up my configurator, the original one, and it doesn't see the board. What? It's not seeing the board at all. So the new configurator doesn't see it, the old configurator doesn't see it. I'm like, great, something's really wrong here. So I try a bunch of stuff, nothing. So finally I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, let me just try something drastic here. I'm going to try to put BetaFlight on it, wipe it, and then try to go back. So I'll pull up BetaFlight configurator. It's not seeing the board. All right, wonderful. Now what's going on? I'm really confused. I'm like, all right, so last resort, let's put it in DFU mode. So pop open the top there on the remix and solder the 2 boot pins together. That puts it in DFU mode. Connect to the computer with BetaFlight. Oh, DFU mode, it sees that. Oh, I can flash it. Flashes it just fine. So then I unsolder those pins, pull up BetaFlight again. It sees it just fine. I'm like, oh, great, no problem whatsoever. Great, yay. So now let me just try to put FlightOne back on it again, right? So I pull up the FlightOne configurator. Boom, it sees it. What do you know? And it says, oh, you've got BetaFlight on it. You need to put, you know, FlightOne on there. Okay, sure. So I'll go back and put, you know, the FlightOne firmware on there, the 1264 that I've been using forever. Flashes just fine. Restarts. Doesn't see the board again. Yay! And here we are once again. So I'm like, huh. So I soldered the 2 pins together. It sees the DFU mode. Then it lets me flash it again. But as soon as I take those 2 off, boom, it doesn't see it anymore. But I can get it to see it with BetaFlight. So at this point, I'm like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with this board. So I have another FlightOne Revolt. I do the same thing with it. Exact same problem. I don't know. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? With the direction that they're going, with pushing everything, with all their new FCs and new ESCs, and they're constantly coming out with new firmwares that needs new hardware, and they're not delivering the hardware from themselves. It's a big headache. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I don't care. I like them as far as, you know, when it works, that's great. But right now, it's not great. Kind of annoying. So I've got my remix here. This is exactly the same as no hardware changes whatsoever on this, exactly the way that I had it with when I had FlightOne on it. So I put BetaFlight 406 on it, and I'm going to try this out, and we'll see how this thing flies with BetaFlight. Before we do that though, I've got to go into some details and show you what I had to do to make this actually work. There's a problem with the Revolt and FrSky receivers and BetaFlight. So let's go back to the bench, and then we'll come back out here and do some flying. All right guys, so here we are on the bench, and what you can see here, this is the Revolt here. And what you see is we have a TX1 and an RX1, and we've got those bridged with a little small wire. And that's really all that you've got to do. I mean, everything else you would wire it up just like you would on FlightOne. You're going to connect your receiver over to TX1. You see that over on the left there. And then your 5 volt and your ground. And then up under here you've got your TX1 inverted there. And then you've got your 5 volts for the VCC for this right here. So that's what this bridge is, and this bridge is here. And then the only other thing you gotta do is you just need to bridge these two here, TX1 to RX1, and then you set your serial RX to half duplex, and that's all you've got to do. So I'll put a picture up here of this with that, and then with the CLI command to put up there so you guys can see that. And that's all there is to it, and we'll go back to the field now.
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning.
Alright, let's do my little clap thing. There, should be good. A little more cars on here. It's no fun for flying. That's recording. Let's take off over here, I guess. Okay. Sit that down right there. Let's go there. And let's see. Maybe.
Seconds. Seconds. Ten. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Timer 1 elapsed.
Missed my landing a little bit. Keep walking around.
Telemetry lost.
So, flight characteristic wise, feels pretty good actually. Not too shabby. Pretty responsive. Feels good on the sticks. Maneuverability feels good. So, feels different than FlightOne, slightly. Probably more responsive actually. So, I don't know. Interesting. Feels pretty good though. Kind of like it. So I'm going to fly one more, and I'll try to talk a little bit while I'm flying this one. I was just kind of getting a feel for it, and kept having people pop up. Some dude walking up through here, I don't know where he went to, and other people around, so that makes it really tricky. So anyways, I'm going to try to talk a little bit more this time while I'm flying, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Telemetry recovered.
So that goes this time. All right. There. There. All right. Crash. Still feels okay. Alright, so thoughts on this thing right now. Definitely feels really snappy on the sticks. I've got the same rates that I use on my other BetaFlight quad, which is my cinematic quad. And it don't feel this.
30
I don't remember it feeling this snappy, but it's not this balanced either. It's that QAV-R frame, which is not nearly as balanced as the remix frame. The remix frame is much more balanced than the QAV-R frame, and you can feel that with the way this thing flies through.
20 seconds.
Definitely more balanced on the sticks. Much more control with it, which I'm digging.
10 9
Definitely digging
8
the
7
extra control here.
6
I feel like I can go both ways
5
easily
4 3
and make quick adjustments when I wasn't used to doing that before.
Timer 1 elapsed.
So definitely like that aspect of it. Throttle control feels good. You can tell, I don't know, I can just definitely feels much more responsive than what I'm used to flying. So much so that I'm willing to try things that I wasn't trying, which resulted in those crashes, of course, but I definitely feel more in control than I normally do. You know, whipping around trees a lot easier. Some of it's probably why they're flying that person there. Yeah, I'm going to land here. I don't know where that person went to. Anyway, yeah, some of it's where I've been flying the one with the 2650 kV motors, which are a lot more snappy. So that quad is a lot touchier, I guess, to throttle than this one is. That's probably part of it. But just the overall control feels a lot better than what I'm used to with this thing. And I've flown this thing a bunch, and I've flown the other one a bunch, and I've flown my BetaFlight quad that does my cinematic stuff a bunch. And generally speaking, they all felt more or less the same, but this one definitely feels a lot better now. Who knew? So take it for what it's worth. I'm not hating on FlightOne, not in the least. You know, like I said, you know, big fan for the longest time, and really liked their, mostly because of their configuration. It was so simple. You could just kind of put your thing together and just go through the configurator, boom, you're done. You don't have to think about anything, which was great. But when you have weird stuff happen, like I just had happen, there's no solution, because, you know, that's kind of the way that it works. It either works or it doesn't, and there's no solution. And I'm sure if any of the FlightOne guys see this, I'm sure they'll give me a million different things to try. But you know what? I'm not about sitting and wasting hours and hours and hours. Occasionally I'll get a wild hair and want to try something different, but I typically don't. And that's the reason that I typically don't, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, if it's working, don't change it. You know, but I got that wild hair, I decided to change it, you know, with the notion that I can always go back to it, you know. You know, I can always put it back to the previous version. Like I did that with, you know, some of the different versions of the firmware and stuff before they did Falco X, and I would put them on there, and then I'd always go back because there really wasn't anything that I needed, or it would act funny, or it'd fly weird, or whatever, and I just kind of stuck with, you know, what had been working, and that's kind of what I did. So, you know, I'd always get those wild hairs to want to go try something new, and then, you know, with the notion that I can always go back. No big deal, I can always go back. But this time, you know, going back, I don't know what the deal is. I'm not sure what happened. So, you know, if anybody has any ideas, you know, feel free to throw those out there. But I believe I pretty much tried pretty much everything that there is to try. And for whatever reason, no go. I don't know. Strange. Anyways, I kind of like BetaFlight on this. I'm going to stick with it. Basically, the tune felt pretty good. You know, I'll have to test it a little more in a couple different environments with, you know, a little more throttle, that kind of thing. But for flying around here, it felt pretty good. And this is usually, I can usually get a pretty good sense of if the tune is off flying here. So I think it's pretty good. basically it's the same tune I've got on my other BetaFlight setup, which is similar KV, similar weight, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's probably why it flies pretty well. I think I noticed one little bobble of prop wash there at one point in one scenario, but other than that, not too bad, and flying pretty good. I really like it. So what's that leave us with? You know, I don't know. It's good stuff, but I think I'm gonna stick with BetaFlight on this, and I don't think I'm going back to FlightOne. Sorry, Preston. Sorry, guys that I know that like FlightOne. I think Stix FPV does it. FPV Addict 1 does it. A few other guys I've got on my channel, they that comment all the time, fly it, and nothing wrong with it. Really, there's not. You know, if it's working for you, you know, by all means use it. I'm not telling you not to. But I think for me, for now, I'm just going to stick with what I know. It gives me a lot more options for boards. Gives me, you know, a lot more headaches in some other areas, but for the most part, BetaFlight's not too bad. So I'm not going to 4.1, so I'm sticking with 406. I don't need RPM filters because I don't have any Blheli-32 ESCs, so that doesn't do me any good. So I think I will just stick with 406 here. It's flying pretty well, and we'll go with that. So you guys have a great day. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of this flying here. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing how to get a Revolt running BetaFlight if you're running a Tyrannus. I don't think that issue happens if you're running Spectrum, so I don't think you have that problem. For the Spectrum guys, you won't have that issue, but if you're running FrSky, and if you're running Crossfire, I don't guess you'd have that issue either. But if you're running FrSky with the inverted signal and all that other crap, you probably have that problem. So there you go. There's how you wire it up. There's how you make it work. Pretty straightforward. You guys have a great day. Go out and do something inspiring. Go be the good people you are. Go have fun. No matter what firmware you're using, KISS, BetaFlight, FlightOne, Clean Flight, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you're having fun, that's what matters, you know. Don't be a fanboy and only stick with one thing, you know, and tell everybody else that they're wrong. So, you know, I mean, you can stick with one thing, but just don't tell everybody else they're wrong if they're using something different, you know, because everybody likes different things. So, and some things work better for some people than they do for others. So if it's working for you, stick with it and just go out and have some fun. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.